you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to chat with you today. So she is Program and Youth Director of the Rhode Island for Community and Justice. So we're excited to have a chat with you today.
Excited to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about this new year. So it's a new year. You have a new location.
We do.
And a new partnership. So talk to us a little bit about what the new year is bringing for your program.
Absolutely. So it's a new year, but it is an old organization. We've actually been around since 1952. Rhode Island for Community and Justice is a nonprofit that focuses on eliminating bias, bigotry, and racism, promoting respect and understanding among all races, religions, and cultures through conflict resolution, advocacy, and most importantly, education. So this new year really brings us a focus on that education, those new partnerships. We've moved into a collaborative space in St. John's Episcopalian Church. So we're there, we're being joined by the Center for Reconciliation, so they're also moving in. So we're the two new partners that are joining the Church Beyond Walls, as well as the diocese that's there. And it's so exciting because we all have such social justice missions that we're really looking forward to different ways that we can partner and help Rhode Island move forward as we think about social justice.
Which I think is so great and so exciting, and so congratulations on moving into the new space. Talk to me a little bit about the work that you do. You're working primarily with youth because you are the youth program director. Talk to me a little bit about some of the programs that you offer. Like you said, you're primary working in social justice. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about some of the programs that you offer.
Sure. So the programs are very personal to me because I actually participated in one of the youth programs as a high school student. So I know from firsthand experience just how powerful they can be. For our youth programs, it's really centered around our signature camp, Project Respect. It's a week-long leadership development program for high school students in the summer that really focuses on understanding systems of oppression, allowing them the space to reflect on their own personal experiences of oppression as well as privilege in order to set them up for the year, because we have a youth action council that runs year-round that really encourages the youth who have participated in the camp to continue their growth and work on dismantling systems of oppression. I had the opportunity of participating in the camp the summer after my freshman year, and then I got to be the co-chair of the Youth Action Council for a few years after. So RSUJ has been home to me for a very long time, and it's really taught me just the importance of having a space where youth can really be reflective and critical of their lived experiences and then be able to do something with that.
I'm super interested. I've been excited to chat with, whether it was you or with Toby, about this for the past week or so, because I think the work that you do within this community is so valuable. And so I wanted to talk more about the programs and more about just what's happened. The past year has been very turbulent in so many regards. There have been so many more people stepping up and taking action in whatever platform they choose to do that. So, but I was really curious to talk to you because you are involved with youth. And so I'm curious to see what youth have been saying, what youth have been feeling, because here's a forum where they can go out, they can have conversations, and they can really express themselves. So I'm kind of curious what that's been like for you and what young people have been saying.
Sure. So I have an interesting perspective because I started the job in this new year, literally 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm very much new to this particular set of youth, but what I have noticed in the work that I was doing previously is that the systems of oppression aren't all that different. The experiences that youth and adults are experiencing now have been experienced for decades. I think the biggest difference is the culture around talking about it. It's just more on top for a lot more people. And so that means that now youth are ready to have these conversations in places where maybe before they weren't ready to have them. So it's coming up in schools, it's coming up in their extracurriculars, it's coming up everywhere at their families' dinner tables and the such. And I think it's just because it's so much more on top, it's that much more urgent that we have a space where they can come and critically reflect and be real and be honest, and sometimes those are really hard, uncomfortable conversations, but if we don't have the space for those conversations, things just get worse. And we know that, we've seen that. So we're really, really highlighting the importance of creating that space for a shared dialogue.
And so do you think, I mean, is that kind of your mission as we move forward in 2018, is to create those opportunities, to create that safe space to have these conversations and to do so in a productive and positive manner?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that with our youth, but we do that through our other programs as well. I think one of the things I'm most excited about for this particular year, coming on with RICJ, we're also focusing on creating spaces for adults. Right, so we know that these conversations come up in workplaces, especially if you work at a corporation, at a nonprofit, government, whatever it is. You know, adults also need some structure, need some help in getting real, being uncomfortable, and we're very excited to be able to offer those opportunities to organizations that are looking to have those facilitated conversations. And the really cool aspect about it is, since we do work with youth so much, many of those conversations can also be facilitated in part by youth, which again is dismantling another system of oppression, which is ageism. So making sure we're taking our youth seriously because they know their lived experiences. Thanks to our program, they are trained facilitators and they do their work well.
You know, that's a unique way to look at it, because I did want to talk a little bit about the programs that you offer, kind of cultural training, sensitivity training, diversity training that you have, that you offer for businesses, that you offer for schools. But that's a unique way to look at it, where you bring in younger people, youth, you bring in who are trained specifically for this. And it's an interesting way to approach it, to look at it, where you're offering this safe space, and it is somewhat cultural training, sensitivity training. What have you found response to be with these programs?
Sure. I think for the most part, people are hungry to have these conversations.
Yeah.
It's their lived experiences. We're seeing it every day in our lives, and we don't always have that space to talk about it. You don't necessarily come into work and intentionally get into those conversations with your colleagues, but
it's
it
coming
impacts.
up, yeah.
It impacts your ability to do your job. Yeah. It impacts your own mental health as you're dealing with your daily lives. So I do think that because of that hunger, folks are more eager. They're more willing to make themselves uncomfortable. Nobody really searches for that discomfort. However, I think now, because of the culture, because of the things that were mentioned earlier, I think that folks understand that we are not going to grow if we don't get uncomfortable, and folks want to grow. We want to be doing better for our country, and so folks are just way more willing to do the hard work required.
Do you think that in Rhode Island and in Providence, that this is just something that necessary, that has to happen because we are such a culturally diverse community?
Absolutely. As a Latina who was not born in this country, I absolutely do think that it's important for Rhode Island to really look itself in the mirror and think about how our growing diversity is going to impact all aspects of our shared lives together in our community, and making sure that we're creating a space for everyone at the table.
Let's talk a little bit about the programs. You said there are programs that work specifically with at-risk youth. What success have you seen with those programs, and what has feedback been like?
Sure. So I will only briefly mention these programs because, as I mentioned, I've only been here 2 weeks.
That's fine.
And that's not one of the programs that I work on.
But you also have come, like you said, like you mentioned, you've been part of this group for a very long time, so you can touch base on.
Sure. So we do work with the juvenile hearing boards, and this is really our way of making sure that we're looking at certain systems and ensuring fair access. So we know that certain youth, depending on where they live, often the color of their skin, get into the criminal justice system a lot quicker. So focusing on restorative practices really allows us to see the student as a whole person, while still focusing on whatever action happened, right? Making sure they're making amends for what happened.
Interesting.
So I know we have the juvenile hearing boards in Providence and Central Falls. My husband's actually one of the members on the hearing board in Central Falls. So I hear from him the impact and the power of really being able to have youth own their actions and still be seen as a whole person and allowed to redeem themselves through real work.
That's interesting, and I think that's so important because you can get a disconnect if you're not owning up to your actions, and
Absolutely.
It's hard to be a young person. So being able to be held accountable and owning up to that, and apparently your husband said it's working, right? So that's good. Let's talk a little bit about something else that I found super interesting. One of the programs and services that you provide is the Rhode Island Civil Rights Roundtable. And it's a venue for the community activists to really just come together and work together. How do you think that this forum can be beneficial for Rhode Island, and really also as we move forward in 2018?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, we recognize that we're not the only organization that's doing social justice work, especially around issues of race, and that there are a lot of other organizations that are doing the hard work as well. And with those overlapping missions, we know that we can be so much more effective if we're being strategic and working together. So I think that's really the biggest thing, making sure that we're all pushing back on each other and holding each other accountable, and that we're keeping our eyes on, similar strategies, similar things that'll move us forward.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously you've been part of this organization growing up, but you said you just came into this position not too long ago. So again, congratulations to you. What do you want to do? What impact do you want to make?
Yes, so because I participated in the camp, social justice has been such an important part of my life for a very long time. When I was younger, it was easy for me to focus on being a woman, being Latina. I was undocumented, I identify as queer, like all these oppressed identities. But as I grew up, I realized that in order to do this work, the biggest thing I can do is really focus on my privilege. I am able-bodied, I am cisgender, and while I focus on my privilege, it's a lot easier for me to hold other people accountable to their privilege. And I think that's what's exciting to me, that we have a venue that is, people are willingly coming to us, asking us to hold them accountable and to help them check their privilege, because it's work we all have to do. I've been doing this since high school, and I still have to check my privilege and do the work. And I think that's the most exciting thing, especially with the new partnerships, the fact that there's so many different organizations that are excited about doing this work. Rhode Island is such a tiny state. We have the potential to make huge impact, specifically in this way. I think we can really be a leader in how we approach these things.
I think checking privilege is very important. I find myself holding myself accountable often, especially as we move forward in 2018. That might be a good New Year's resolution,
yes,
right? For
absolutely.
some people, right?
Absolutely. I think one of the ways that I look at our work is just the fact that we can help hold up a mirror for folks. And we have to start by holding up a mirror to ourselves and really doing that critical work, that kind of personal reflection and analysis. But then we're there to help out and hold up the mirror for other folks. Because it's hard work. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know where your areas that you need some more growth. And that's what we're here for, to help provide that helping hand, that support, because it is hard work. And sometimes we all need that little help.
And I think what's neat too is that the organization, it's not about tearing people down or saying oh, you need to check yourself. It's about building up and building a better community. So, and I think that sometimes that can get lost, especially whether it's through media or social media. Sometimes those messages can get lost, and it's really about building each other up, which is interesting too, because the organization tries to hold the media accountable and provide checks for the media, which I think is definitely beneficial. If people are interested in maybe entering one of the programs or entering one of the trainings, can people do so as individuals, or does it have to be part of a group or
Absolutely. No, there are multiple ways to get engaged with our organization and the work we do. In fact, the best way to find out more is to come to our open house this coming Monday, January 22nd from 5 to 7 at 271 North Main Street in Providence. And there you'll be able to see not just our organization and the work we're doing, but the other organizations that are also present that are overlapping in mission. So you can see where we fit amongst that. But there you'll learn a lot about the youth work. We'll have youth facilitators there, so you can try out a little bit of the programming that they do. We'll have folks from the juvenile hearing boards there, so you can ask them questions about what that process is like. And you can find other opportunities for you to get engaged, right? Maybe you are dying to have your organization have these conversations. Come talk to us, come visit with us. Again, Monday, January 22nd from 5 to 7 p.m., 271 North Main Street in Providence. There is parking and it's free, so you should come.
Which is very exciting. I think kind of the key message here is really what you said before. It's having these conversations. Absolutely. And whether it's uncomfortable or not. And I've had these conversations too on this show, and off the show, quite frankly, is we need to have these conversations. Yes. And that's what makes us better as people, as individuals, and better as a society. Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining me, Andrea. It's been such a pleasure. I hope that you will come back and chat some more with us. So thank you so much, and looking forward to the open house. So everyone, please hang tight as we get set up here for our next guest on GoLocal Live.